Okay, everybody, this is Giselle Bernard, franchise owner of the Powerful Network in Action Uptown Group in Houston, Texas, Galleria area. And right now, today, we're with Paul Franzetti with Franzetti Law, and he's going to discuss some tips. He's going to share with us what he knows about surviving these uncertain times. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Paul, and what you do first.
What I do, I serve business owners and help them grow their business, using available legal tools, and then protect what they've built and minimize their risks. So it's, again, using available legal tools. There's no other magic to it than that. But there are some things that business owners can do along those lines, and things that they ought to be considering. So that's what I do. And it's all in the areas of formations and startups, mergers and acquisitions, putting partners together and breaking them apart sometimes because it doesn't quite work, sadly. And some other areas around that. Right now, what I see is going to rise a lot is insolvency or restructuring. And I think there's going to be a fair amount of that in the days ahead. And so it all goes together, because you wouldn't need to restructure if the money was free flowing as you had expected and planned, if this hadn't happened. So those are the things that I do. And you'd asked a couple of questions ahead of time. We really, as a firm, we've not really changed how there's no response to the coronavirus that we have. We've done our best to answer clients' questions, first about the Family Paid Medical Leave Act. That came first. And then the onslaught of $2 trillion stimulus program and what that has meant. And we've seen already massive changes in the way the regulatory bodies have interpreted the statutes, which are informing the banks on how to process loans and do that sort of thing. So my advice there is always go to your banker and see what it is that bank wants and needs, because you really can't go by what I say. It's really what the banker is willing to do and can do. So that's that. And that might be a tip. But the tips are really kind of...
And give us your expert advice concerning some tips that you'd like to give others. Business. Yeah.
Well, first and foremost, in growing a business, there's always a pull on an owner's time, particularly in a small business. Medium-sized businesses, owners have gotten beyond this sometimes. But in a small business, an owner spends so much time working in the business, they forget to work on the business. They forget to do things that it's going to take to improve the business. Or they make plans, but they don't start executing them. This is a perfect time to actually start executing those plans. Whether they come from a business coach, whether they come from a lawyer, whether they come from your accountant, these are the times to actually be doing and putting into motion those plans, because you don't have the day-to-day pulls, both from clients typically, or your employees, except everyone is always concerned. And the other thing to do is reach out to employees. All of them are concerned, just like you are if you're a business owner, and they need reassurance. And the more you reach out, the more rapport you have with them, I think the better off you're going to be long term. You don't have to furlough people if you get a loan quickly enough. I mean, cash flow is always king, but the whole purpose of these loans is to pay your employees. At least that's the payroll protection program. It's to pay your employees, keep them on, and they will appreciate that later, that they know they weren't furloughed, or if you have had to lay them off because you don't have the cash flow, rehire them as soon as you get the cash, pay them, and move on. But hopefully you've set the stage for that ahead of time. The second thing, this came up, kind of hit from a way I wasn't expecting. Someone who wasn't sick before the pandemic came, uh, excuse me, who was the money guy, I guess if you want to call him that, the money man for a client of mine, passed away in his sleep. He was 35 years old. And there hasn't been an autopsy yet, or at least I don't know what the result is. But the man was wealthy, married, but there was no insurance in the business to cover his passing if that were to happen. There's going to be a huge hole in that business, even if his widow decides to continue the investment in the business and doesn't try to pull out. It's harder given that it's an LLC. You can't just pull out typically. It's not like that. But his skills are going to be missed in managing the money. So this is a time to, again, maybe put on one of your action items. Get insurance as soon as you can. As soon as you can.
Be proactive, in other words, and taking care of your business.
Right, and schedule that. Schedule that for the future, because particularly if you have a partner or other investors sometimes who are working in the business, you really will miss them if they're gone. And that's completely true. Third, and this may go to the first one, if you can identify any opportunities in your business or your industry to acquire another business, this is the time to do it. There are probably people, not probably, there are people who have decided they're done with their business. Either they've gotten to an age where they don't want to deal with it anymore and they don't want to have to do one more recession or anything like that. Or they just said, look, this isn't for me. I need to do something else. And they're going to be wanting to sell their business. This is a great time to be looking for that. If that's something you want to do, is take on more clients, take on more work that way, and expand your business. And go ahead.
And that would be where if someone was looking to buy a business, they would need consulting. Or if they were looking to sell their business, wouldn't they have to be in the position to do that?
Well, selling a business is really one of those areas that I say you need to call me 3 years in advance before you want to sell a business. It's really hard to help at the last minute. I mean, I can draw documents, that's fine, but I can't help put you in a position that's going to maximize the return that you get out of your business, either the price or any other kind of consideration. And I think anyone will tell you that you really need to, if you're on the selling side of a business, you really need to be planning that a lot farther in advance than 2 months. But at the same time, it depends on how you built your business. If you want out, you want out. And I get that, and then maybe that is the best time to sell. But realize you're not going to have maximized the value, in all likelihood, unless you've talked to someone on how the best way to position your business would be for a sale. One last thing I was going to say there, if you do have loans and you're going to have late payments, get out ahead of it. Call the banker or the lender if it's not a banker. And come up with a sensible plan as to how this is going to get discharged based on assumptions, and list assumptions, figure out what those are, and then come up with a repayment plan for the missed payments, because lenders will appreciate that, regardless of whether they're a bank or a private lender. Everybody's in the same shape right now, and that's what I think people are seeing. So that's my expert thoughts, if you will. Expert. It's hard, I get, when you're young and naive, you can't even be thought of as an expert, but some people think you are, just because you went to law school. I'm old and decrepit now, but it's still hard to be thought of as an expert, because everything I do, every client is different. There is no, typical cookie cutter client.
Well, you bring years of experience to the table, Mr. Paul Franzetti, with Franzetti Law.
I do. And my business could use insurance too, but that's going to be up to my partner.
Uh-huh.
He's much younger than I am, and he better not be going anywhere.
He better not. Huh.
Opportunity. Well, you also asked about opportunities, I think, earlier.
Yes.
What opportunities do we see that the way the business will operate after the pandemic has passed from our consciousness? And I think a couple things. First of all, in one sense, it won't change much in the office. Lawyers have always been socially distant because we have good-sized offices. We're not on top of each other. That's just the way law offices have traditionally been. However, I think that what I'm seeing is people are becoming more comfortable with the technology, which means that we're going to have to be that much on the forefront of marketing through technology. When I first started this practice, I looked at a website as being a calling card. It was nothing but that. I didn't see it as a marketing tool other than once you've met someone, they can look you up and see if you're real and see if you've had the gall to publish all those things you say about yourself. And if so, that's an indication of some worth. But I think that's going to change it was going to change anyway because the young crowd now is becoming more mature, taking over businesses, and they're more comfortable with technology to begin with. So it is an evolution, though. But this is speeding it up. I think that's it.
Well, and there you have it. Well, I want to thank you for your insight, and we will chat with you again, hopefully real soon. There you have it. Paul Franzetti with Franzetti Law.
Thank you.